Hello, this is Dr. Paul Cottrell, and I'm going to be going over a couple videos here. The first video that I'm going to do today is about nuclear plants with this whole conflict between Ukraine and Russia. I'm a little concerned about it. Bloomberg did an interview that was published 5 hours ago. Bloomberg TV talking to the IAEA. I think it's done really well. I think it gives a good overview of what's going on. So let's go over that and understand the other risk point globally when we zoom out, when we look at Europe, the Middle East, the conflict potentiality in Asia, also, you know, all the crazy stuff going on with Mpox. We gotta just kind of zoom out and like look at all these different stress points in society. What's going on with the election in the United States. This is just another data point of some of the instability and unrest and chaotic behavior that may emerge and move in a different direction. All right. So this is, you know, a phase transition maybe in society. Maybe this is a chaotic attraction. There's lots of ways to describe this, but there's a chaos that's building up. All right. It doesn't mean that we're going to have a nuclear accident with these plants, but the risk factors are elevated. In addition, the risk factors are elevating with tactical nukes, the use of tactical nukes. And if Russia keeps on being pushed back to a certain point, will Russia start using its nuclear arsenal to some degree, either tactical or strategic nukes? So the point here is that the risk factors are elevated and they're elevating. So we need to really pay attention to this. So before I start, please make sure you subscribe to all my channels. I have 4 channels on YouTube. I have Brighteon, Bitchute, and Rumble. All the links are in the description of this video. I also have X and GETTR, so please follow me there. I've noticed that some people don't get a notification when I do a premiere until about a day later or a few hours later. So it's really important that you follow me on X and GETTR so you get the notifications. In addition, please help to support my work. I have thousands of videos that are for free to help to improve your health, learn about current events, give you my perspective on it. So I need your help by donating. You can donate on my website, the-studio-reykjavik.com. On the homepage at the very bottom, you can donate through Stripe, PayPal, or buy me a coffee. You can also be a paid member to my Patreon channel that helps support my work. The higher tier leveled members on Patreon get some access, some free access to my medical lectures. So please subscribe to Patreon. And if you're a higher tiered member, you're going to get some benefits and see my lectures on pulmonology and immunology. In addition, please go to my store, the-studio-reykjavik.com, and get the health supplements that I have and follow my protocols.
Let's talk about what is happening in Kursk right now. You have, we understand, accepted an invitation from the Russian authorities. When are you planning to visit the site?
Well, good morning first. Yes, indeed, as you were saying in the introduction, we have a very concerning situation there, on top of what we have been working on and what we have been seeing in Zaporizhia. Now we have a second nuclear power plant, which is, if not on the front line, like Zaporizhia, very close to another point of contact or front line in the region of Kursk, as you rightly said. Since this advance of Ukrainian troops started and in the proximity of a nuclear power plant, the Russian authorities have been giving us some information, and my reaction to that was, as always, that the only way in which the IAEA can validate things, confirm things, is when we have an opportunity to independently assess what is happening. This is valid for Zaporizhia, this is valid for nuclear proliferation in Iran, or wherever the IAEA is. Hence, this dialogue led to an invitation to come, and we are working on the details. As you can imagine, visiting a combat zone is not like a normal business trip. So we are working on a number of logistical and security details that are necessary in order to make this possible within the next few days.
What do you expect to accomplish on this trip? What do you expect to find on this trip? Can you give me a sense of what this plant looks like, how it's laid out, how protected it is? I understand that there's a concrete dome over the reactor, etc.
This is a very peculiar facility. You have there 6 nuclear reactors. You have 2 which are being decommissioned, so they are not working and they are being dismantled, if I can put it like that. There are 2 which are operating. First, important key information. This is not like Zaporizhia.
I want to break this down a little bit. Okay, so in the occupied zone, for lack of a better term, by the Russians, we have a nuclear power plant. So it's on the for Ukraine, it's like the southern area, southeastern area. It's more southern than eastern. Zaporizhzhia nuclear power plant. Of course, I'm sure I'm butchering the pronunciation. Then there's this Kursk power plant. Now this is in Russia proper, with the Ukraine forces moving into the Kursk region. I'm not saying this is going to happen, all right? But let's just do a simulation, a mental simulation. If the Ukrainian forces do something on accident or on purpose that leads to a nuclear fallout, some sort of nuclear release of radiation, it will push Russia to go to the international community to stop, and that this would be a war crime, and that if the international community doesn't help with stopping the leak and stopping the incursion, because you're not talking about a power plant in Russia proper, not just in the disputed area of Ukraine and Russia. That may push the Russian people and Putin particularly in posturing himself and threatening NATO with tactical nukes. Because you got to remember the trade winds and the way the weather works here. All right. We kept on thinking, of course, nuclear weapons are bad. When I was a kid, I was like, after seeing The Day After, which was in the 80s during the Reagan administration, just kind of like fearful of nuclear war, right? But I'm against nuclear, even nuclear power, not just nuclear weapons, because it's not safe. If something does happen, it's catastrophic. It can't be fixed. If a black swan happens, there's radiation. You can't clean it up. Even if there is no explosion at a plant or release of radiation into the water supply or waterways or whatever, just decommissioning it it's a toxic waste dump. What do you do with the material that's going to be radioactive for thousands of years? In some cases, tens of thousands of years. So it's not safe, because if something does happen, it's catastrophic. And even if something doesn't happen, what do you do with the waste? Because these nuclear power plants create waste. We don't have a good means of converting radioactive material into useful products, right? This is why coal burning plants are way better for energy production than nuclear power, all right? Yes, you have a very high energy density in nuclear power. And yes, an accident is rare, but if the accidents happen, or you're in a war and someone takes advantage of the plant to be able to position themselves better on the battlefield, or accidentally do something in the war, it's catastrophic. Here we have a potentiality of a Chernobyl kind of thing happen. Now, is it 90% chance of it happening? No, at least not yet. But it's probably a 20, 30% chance, depending on what the hell is going on over there. So there's a lot of nuclear power plants in Ukraine, but there's a lot of nuclear power plants in Russia. So the probability of something going wrong on accident or on purpose is starting to elevate. All right. So, just keep in mind, now we're talking about not just nuclear plants in Ukraine or in the disputed area of Ukraine, but also in Russia proper. This is going to be a problem for the international community. Now, we've been told during the Cold War that, well, nuclear conflict with NATO and Russia would be devastating for Russia and devastating for NATO. Yeah. All right. And that if you have enough missiles on both sides destroy each other. All right. That's possible. But if you just do one or two, the actual nuclear fallout, because of the trade winds, depending on the weather, because it's variable, but on average, the wind is going from west to east. Sometimes it circles down into the Middle East because of some sort of weather front from the Arctic. But typically it's going west to east. We've been told in the Western society that, oh, we got to worry about all the fallout and all that. If Russia nukes, if Russia does a tactical nuke on Ukraine, there will be fallout, right? There'll be radiation in that local area. But as it's going into the atmosphere, the wind is going to blow it into Russia. This is the reason that long-term nuclear fallout is actually worse for Russia and benefits the allied forces in NATO. Let me rephrase that so you understand that we've been sold a bill of goods during the Cold War where we have the upper hand, not Russia, but yet we've been demonizing Russia. If Russia uses tactical nukes in NATO or in Ukraine, the trade winds, the normal weather, on average, will blow over Russia. All right? So they're going to get nuclear fallout and cause problems with their agriculture. Of course, there's going to be radiation in the local area of the tactical nuke and the surrounding area. So you have there's going to be rings, and that radiation is going to dissipate. But as that radiation goes up into the atmosphere, it's going to blow over, all right, and move wherever the vectors are for that weather pattern. A lot of it goes over Russia. Now play it the other way around. If NATO or Ukrainians don't really have nukes, but they do have dirty bombs. But the thing is that if NATO or someone in Ukraine uses nuclear weapons and fires it into Russia, there's going to be local radiation at the target, but there's going to be a fallout that continues eastward. So the fallout is less. So this is one of the advantages that NATO has, but they don't tell the average public this. So as the trade wind moves, it's now causing damage to the land in Russia, causing damage to the land in India, causing damage to the land in China, and goes into Alaska and causes damage in the tundra for Canada. Now, depending on if there's a northern front in the weather, then you may have dissipated radiation in the northern states in the United States. So it's not just tactical. The point here is it's not just tactical nukes in a local region where there's conflict. It's also the wind patterns on how the fallout happens and what the yields they are using for the tactical nukes. The lower the yield, the less of a spread for radiation that this is going to happen. The higher the yield, the more. All right. That's just at the tactical nuke level. If one of these power plants blow up, and it's one of these power plants that are hot and not in cold shutdown, we're talking about a serious problem. So the data point that we need to look at is what happened with Chernobyl back in the 80s, and regions, not just in the Ukrainian region, but there were Russians and other countries that had a nuclear fallout because of the trade wind, because of the wind coming over. So this is an important feature that people need to pay attention to. It's a function of the yield or the amount of radiation that it's released, how high up in the atmosphere does it get, and what's the trade winds at that moment in time, at detonation and several days after. But the point here is the trade winds go west to east. That means that Russia gets most of the fallout. With that tidbit of information, please go to my store, the-studio-reykjavik.com, and help support PNN instead of CNN, or Alex Jones. Help support PNN and Dr. Paul Cottrell. So what you need to do is go to the store, the-studio-reykjavik.com, and get the structural nano silver max 35, max 14, or the structural silver solution that is a 30 ppm. What you do is you take a teaspoon of this a day, swish it in your mouth, gargle, swallow. All right? It's really simple. It's neutralizing pathogens. It's improving your oral hygiene, reducing gum irritation, and maintaining a mucosal barrier so you are boosting up your immune system. Really simple. Do it every day. If you're not feeling well because of the cold season, take a teaspoon or two a day. You know, if you're not feeling well, take not a teaspoon, a tablespoon a day. So, you know, in the morning, take the tablespoon, gargle with it, and then swallow it. And then maybe at night, do the same thing with a tablespoon, gargle with it, and swallow at night if you're not feeling well during the cold season. If you are just everyday usage, just a teaspoon. So if you're not feeling well, tablespoon or two. If you are fine, take a teaspoon a day. This way you're maintaining your mucosal barrier, you're neutralizing pathogens, and you're improving your oral hygiene. It's really important. It's a major pillar for boosting up your immune system and slowing down the aging process. How does that, Dr. Paul Cottrell, how does that slow down your aging process and improve longevity? If you're not chronically sick, then your immune system doesn't have to fight, and therefore it can rest. and gain more energy. It's really simple, all right? People that are chronically sick, they age faster. That's a very simple observation, all right? When you get sick, just with the common cold, it takes you weeks to recover. Just because you feel better doesn't mean that your tissue is fully recovered. And it takes weeks to recover. The more severe the infection during the cold season, the longer it will take to recover. As you get older, it's harder to recover. So it adds to the stress of the cells and the aging and yada, yada. So it's so important to boost up your immune system. It's very simple. It's a simple observation. People that are sick 2 or 3 times a year are literally a quarter of the year are healing their body. Very simple concept. So please go to my store and get the structural nanosilver max 35, max 14, or the structural nanosilver solution by the Amniopop product. I have applicator set. So go to my store and get the applicator set. You get a spritzer, you get a dropper, and you get a nasal spray. It's great to put the liquid in this so you can spray surfaces, spray the back of your throat, use the nasal spray if you need it, and use the dropper to put it in your mouth. It's great to take it in a bag so you can take it to work instead of carrying a bottle. So take my advice or don't take my advice. It's up to you. But it works. And before we continue on with the video, please go to my store and get the ashwagandha root. This helps to control your blood glucose levels, and it will reduce that inflammatory response in your vascular system, because in the United States, and probably even in Europe, there are people that have too high of a glucose level, all right? Diabetes runs rampant. People's diets are high in, carbohydrates, and just the glucose just is through the roof, all right? You need to control that, all right? And if you have too much glucose in your vascular system, you're gonna age faster. It causes stress. So you want to control that with the ashwagandha. It's synergistic with turmeric. Turmeric will bring down inflammation. So by taking turmeric and ashwagandha together, what will happen is that you're going to be bringing down that inflammation, and you're going to help your immune system, and you're helping your vascular system. You're controlling the high glucose levels. Another way to control the glucose levels is watch what you eat. Be cognizant of the sugar content that you're eating. Reduce, if not eliminate, the sugar content. All right. The less sugar, the better. All right. That doesn't mean that you go into no carb diet, but stay away from sugary foods. That's a no-no. All right. 1, it's terrible for your teeth, and 2, it's really bad for your cardiovascular system. And you have tissues over time that won't respond to insulin. So you end up getting type 2 diabetes if you have a high sugar content all the time. So it's really important to control that. Trust me, some of the biggest diseases in the United States are preventable. Diabetes, heart disease. Those are 2 big ones that are preventable if you just change your lifestyle. So please go to my store and get the ashwagandha root. Controls your blood glucose levels, brings down that inflammatory response, improves your vascular system. And when you're bringing down that inflammation in your body, your immune system is better. Because you don't want chronic inflammation. It speeds up your aging process, and it weakens your immune system.
Basically what we call cold shutdown. So these are hot nuclear reactors, which means that in case something, God forbid, happened, there would be a very serious situation. And then we have two other plants which are being constructed. So you have the whole, I would say, spectrum of possibilities regarding a nuclear power plant. And the other important element that I want to signal is that the operating units are of a type called RBMK in the Russian terminology, which are similar to the nuclear power plants that you may remember from Chernobyl, which means that they do not have a protecting dome around them, so just the normal roof, which means that the reactor's core is pretty exposed. And when you add up this fact to the issue that you have advancing troops, objectively speaking, within artillery range, then this, of course, is a source of enormous concern to me and for the agency. So when you ask me what I want to accomplish, first of all, is to check things on the ground, to see what the situation is. We will be having, of course, conversations with not only the nuclear experts. I suppose there will be security or military people who will be able to give me their own assessment. We have to make our own assessment of the emergency preparedness and response preparations that this facility has. So it's an enormous task ahead of us, not an easy one, but this is exactly what we need to do, go where problem is.
Well, Rafael, let's take that piece by piece and start with the safety concerns outside of the military risk itself. What does those safety, that emergency preparedness you just referred to, actually look like? If we're talking about this kind of exposure, what kind of safety measures might we need to be putting into place?
Well, we need to, of course, this is an evolving situation, right? So we do not have, and this is an active combat zone. Let me remind the audience again about this. So it's a situation that is changing by the hour. And this, of course, means what I mean by this is the distance of the capabilities that are being deployed there. Which means that we need to know what is the situation, for example, regarding the external power supply. The external power supply is essential to ensure the cooling function of I repeat, operating nuclear power plant, which requires constant influx of electricity in order to ensure the cooling function, lest you have a meltdown of the reactors. We need to understand in the current circumstances how is the supply chain working. A nuclear power plant, like any other big industrial site, is in constant need of equipment, things that come and go. And as you have seen, and I'm just simply mentioning, open source information that is available, there are some bridges that have been either blown up or destroyed. So I need to understand exactly well how isolated or otherwise this nuclear power plant is at the moment. So the only way to do that is to go there, to have a conversation with the local government and with the Russian federal government.
So Rafael,
This is the story of how PipeDrive can accelerate your business growth by automating admin.
So Rafael, that's the safety concerns, of course, that you had mentioned. Let's kind of dive into that combat zone perspective that you were just talking about. There's been criticism that even though the IAEA, has been monitoring both Zaporizhzhia and Kursk for the past 2 years now, you haven't come out more clearly about who you think is behind the attacks on both nuclear plants, despite both Russia and Ukraine very clearly accusing the other sides. Any comment on that?
Well, yes, we hear that. I think what is important in this case is to understand what the role of the IAEA is and how the IAEA operates. The IAEA is not a commentator, is not a political actor, is not a country, is not a member of any alliance or otherwise. It's an international organization charged with the nuclear non-proliferation, nuclear safety, nuclear security, nuclear energy, nuclear applications, and so on and so forth. So whenever we have a situation, whichever this may be, this is why I made the analogy of, I mean, this situation, or it could be a nuclear non-proliferation case in the Middle East. The only way we can pronounce ourselves in a definitive and clear way is when we have elements in our hands. We are also a body of inspectors that undisputably indicate the origin of an event. If I don't have these elements, I can describe the issue. I can even go as far as saying how we think this occurred, but we cannot get into speculations of why, or the motivations, or the reasons, and so on and so forth. For this, you have the U.S. Security Council, you have many other things. This being said, if we had undisputable, irrefutable evidence pointing to a source for an event, we would say it. What I have been saying, and I've said it in front of the United Nations Security Council, is that whoever is behind this must stop. An operating nuclear power plant cannot be, should never be a military target. So what we can do for the international community is being there, being a deterrent, and importantly, giving objective information. Otherwise, you are at the mercy of one or the other narrative.
So Rafael, just to be clear, are you saying you don't know where the attacks are coming from on both Zaporizhzhia and on Kursk?
Well, first of all, we have to make a difference, an important difference here. In the case of Zaporizhzhia, there have been a number of episodes, attacks, and there have been mutual accusations. The Russians accusing the Ukrainians accusing the Russians. We have been diving as deep as possible into the issues, the last of which was, as you may remember, 10 days ago, more or less, when the cooling tower of the Zaporizhzhia nuclear, one of the cooling towers of the Zaporizhzhia nuclear power plant was on fire. When that happened, we got access to the place just a few hours after the fire had been put down, and we were able to issue a number of technical updates, which give a pretty good amount, I would say, of information about this. So this is number one. I have also explained that in the case of drones, given the trajectory of drones, given the erratic trajectory of drones, unless one can find enough evidence, it would be even irresponsible to say it's A or B. So it's not that we are unaware. We have a number of elements, but again, before an international inspector says something definitive, one has to be absolutely 100% sure. And in the case of Kursk, then the situation is even less clear.
Okay, on the situation in Kursk, have you received any assurances from Kyiv, from the Ukrainian side, that they will not be targeting the site there?
We are working on that.
Okay. What questions? So you have asked the questions.
You know, here's the problem with Bloomberg. All right. All they care about is, you know, markets to go up, and they want an immediate answer. But a lot of times, these types of events that have many different variables don't have a quick answer. So the mainstream media, they can't. This is the reason why they failed in covering the 2020 crisis. There are times where you can answer things quickly, and there are times that need more in-depth analysis and discussion and explanation. And mainstream media does a terrible job because it's based on a model of very quick sound bites and segments that are maybe a 3-minute segment or a 5-minute segment. It's shocking that they gave 11-minute segment for this guy. All right. But it's normally, very quick. And this is the reason why we are tiptoeing into a catastrophe in the world in terms of war. That's the Ukrainian war, the Israeli war, the war with China, the problems that are starting to build up economically because of over indebtedness. These are problems that really need a deep dive. All right. This is why people realize this. People that are watching realize this. And that's why they're moving away from mainstream media and moving to alternative perspectives like this channel and many others, right? Because we can go into a deep dive. We can have this discussion for 2 or 3 hours. There's no constraint, right? Other than your attention span and my energy level. But but the thing is that we don't have the same constraints as mainstream media. They're failing us. So that's why you need to support these types of channels and get different perspectives. You may not agree with me on everything. That's okay. That's okay. Even though I'm not wrong. But the thing is that there lots of things have to be analyzed in a deep dive. So, and I'm shocked that Bloomberg spent the time with 11, but there's no quick answers to this. And if something does happen, you're talking about market turmoil. You're talking about geopolitical problems. You're talking about potential nuclear fallout. All right. Now, depending on where you are in the world, depends on how much you're going to have. Now, the far majority of the Americans probably won't have too much nuclear fallout. But Ukraine area is an agricultural area. So if there's a nuclear fallout, the granary in Ukraine probably is going to have a problem. And my understanding is about 30%, maybe more, of world grain production is coming from that region. So now eggs are more expensive, chicken's more expensive, and your radiated grain is going to be more expensive. If I'm making you to the point where you can't sleep at night, please go to my store, the-studio-reykjavik.com, and get the Good Night Formula. I know that it's hard to sleep when you are listening to the news and you don't know if you're going to wake up glowing in the dark, or the rest of the world is in a nuclear fallout. You just don't know. So please go to my store, the-studio-reykjavik.com, and get the Good Night Formula. It has tryptophan and melatonin in it. It'll allow you to get 3 cycles of REM sleep and deep sleep while the world is burning up. And what this will do is it will allow you to consolidate memory so you can remember the good old days, and it will help you to detoxify your body. A lot of people don't realize this, but deep sleep and REM sleep will help to detoxify your central nervous system and your other cells. Your cells go through a detoxification when you're in sleep, in a sleep mode. It'll also detox when you're in awake mode, but there's a very robust detoxification of your body when you're in deep sleep. All right. If you're chronically deprived of sleep, you can't detoxify your body as well. And this is the reason why toxins start to build up. It's even harder when you get older, because people that are older have sleep problems and endocrine disruption problems and all these other things. And so there's a buildup of toxins that lead to dementia and other types of diseases. So it's really important to have good sleep. Sleep is a major pillar for slowing down the aging process, because you have more energy, you're consolidating your memory, you're going to have better neural health, and you're detoxifying your body. So please go to my store, the-studio-reykjavik.com, and get the Good Night Formula as the world is burning up and going up in flames. Because it's hard to It's hard to concentrate when everything is happening. So if you have brain fog and you're having problems concentrating, take the clarity factor. Really important. It'll get rid of that brain fog. It'll allow you to concentrate at work or in school. If you're retired and you're not working and you're not in school, well, what you can do is still take this. This maintains those neural connections. How? By getting those neurons firing, keeping those dendritic connections active. And when you do all these other things that I tell you, like proper sleep and taking C60 and improving your mitochondrial health, you're going to actually have better neurogenesis. Taking CoQ10, all right? Taking all these things that I tell you, like ubiquinol and C60 and resveratrol, and they're synergistic for health, but not just overall health, but neural health. So please go to my store and get the clarity factor and stack it like I'm telling you. Vitamin C, really important while we go into the cold season. Trust me on this. Trust me on this. It'll boost up your immune system and improve your skin. Drink it with filtered water. If you don't drink filtered water, you're an idiot. Why? Because there's fluoride in unfiltered water, and fluoride makes you stupid. So please go to my store, get the vitamin C, drink filtered water, boost up your immune system. If you're not feeling well during the cold season, take a double dose. Really important.
Asking,
Not
as
giving
you
you a
can,
definitive answer.
as you can imagine, Guy, we're asking all sorts of questions. So I have to go, and this is a very delicate
Okay, but the specific
issue.
question, sorry, Director General, the specific question is to the Ukrainian authorities, given the extreme situation and the lack of protection that the site in Kursk has, are you getting any assurances from the Ukrainian authorities, who have obviously a lot of invested interest here,
After
that they
my
will not target this site?
after my visit to Kursk and to Russia, the following week I will be in Kiev. I will be hopefully talking to President Zelensky.
See, the Bloomberg journalist just wants an answer because everything's so, quick and easy, and everything is, this is complex. The bottom line is the IAEA doesn't really have control of the situation. Will they ever have control of the situation? Most likely not. And we have a president that's not being a president right now. I don't know who's running the ship. Is it the Pentagon? Is it no one? What the hell's going on? All right. We may wake up in 5 days and have a nuclear detonation at a power plant, forcefully or accidentally or whatever. That might happen. It's maybe a 20, 30% chance. But who's talking to who? Who's saying to Zelensky, you know what, we're a little concerned about this crap? Or is it that we want this to happen? Which is possible. That's why a deep dive has to happen. And there's no simple answers. I'm sorry, I feel that the world is just spinning out of control. All right.
Israeli armed forces.
This was about 15 minutes ago from this recording. I'm recording this on August 22nd. This is about 50 minutes ago. What was released by Live Now from Fox, dealing with the IDF in Israel targeting different areas in Lebanon. So we'll play that. But before we do that, please go to my store, the-studio-reykjavik.com. Support my work, improve your health. Get the multivitamin that I have on my store. It's easy to digest. There are cofactors in here for enzymatic activity. With these cofactors, you're going to have better cellular processes and tissue processes. You should be taking a multivitamin every day, even when you have a balanced diet, just to make sure that you are maintaining that cellular health. It's really important. So go to my store and get the multivitamin. Vitamin B complex is very important to boost up your energy levels. Like I said, you know, for neural health, you need to boost up that mitochondria. The first 5 vitamins in this will help to boost it up. Vitamin 1 through 5. Vitamin B1, B2, B3, B4, B5 boost up mitochondrial health. It improves the electron transport chain that produces the ATP. You need ATP for your immune system, for cellular processes. It's the workhorse, it's the energy source of your body, the main energy source. It's not the only, but it's a major energy source. And when we get older, our ATP starts to go down, our cellular health starts to go down, our mitochondrial health goes down, our neural health goes down. So to maintain those neural connections, to maintain good cellular health in your other tissues, you need to be taking vitamin B complex. And it's synergistic with clarity factor. What did I say about clarity factor? It helps with neural health. It's synergistic with ubiquinol, which is an active form of CoQ10. If you pay attention to me and stack this, you are going to really skyrocket your health and really improve and get back to homeostasis. Because most likely, if you haven't been trying to improve your health, it's pretty poor because of diet and lack of exercise and all this stuff, right? The lifestyle in America sucks. And that's why the average IQ in America is 98. All right? That's part of it. It's the environment that we're exposed to, disrupting our endocrine system, causing lots of inflammation, and not bettering yourself. Too much bread and circus. And with the bread, your glucose levels go up. That's why you need the ashwagandha to control those glucose levels. And the circus keeps you from actually reading a book.
It targeted Hezbollah terror targets in about a dozen different areas of southern Lebanon, including weapons storage facilities, military structures, and a launcher used to carry out attacks on northern Israel. Israel adding that it did eliminate more than 50 terrorists over the past 24 hours in Rafah. In the meantime, I do want to take you to some video here. The USS Abraham Lincoln aircraft carrier actually arriving along with other U.S. destroyers in the Middle East. Take a look at your screen here. In a statement, U.S. Central Command confirmed the arrival as the Lincoln is there to replace the USS Theodore Roosevelt. U.S. Defense Secretary Lloyd Austin ordering the Lincoln to speed up to get to the region faster as threats of a major Iranian attack on Israel still loom. Do want to talk more about all of the latest developments, so let's bring in Josh Haston, a Middle East correspondent for the Jewish News Syndicate. As always, Josh, thank you so much for taking the time to be here with us today.
Thanks so much, Josh.
All right, so first off, I do want to talk about the Hezbollah targets over there in Lebanon. How significant is that? Because it appears that the situation is once again intensifying with the attacks by Hezbollah on Israel.
Yeah, absolutely. From what I saw this morning, Israel attacked at least 10 different targets throughout Lebanon. We're talking about weapons storage facilities, trying to incapacitate Hezbollah's ability to fire rockets. That being said, it is known that Hezbollah has over 100,000 rockets, and they have not been afraid to use many of those weapons over the last 8-9 months since the October 7th attack. So the situation is very tense on the northern border. And what we're seeing now is we're seeing Hezbollah firing more rockets at one time. In other words, where they used to fire maybe 5-10 rockets, this past week, we've seen different attacks, salvos of rockets coming in. We're talking about 40-50 rockets at once. A lot of them are actually hitting in the central and southern Golan. So they're moving a little bit further southern, a little bit further south there in Israel. So there definitely is major concern. You have to remember, 80,000 Israelis are not currently in their homes who live along the northern border. Situation is not sustainable. We'll have to see what happens in the days and weeks ahead.
I want to pop up this video that I brought you a bit earlier here. This was actually released by CENTCOM in the U.S. And we know that the USS Abraham Lincoln aircraft carrier and those other destroyers did arrive in the Middle East. So does it make the people of Israel feel any safer, better protected from an Iranian attack?
So first things first, we definitely value the friendship that we have, the unbreakable bond between the United States and the state of Israel. And it is somewhat reassuring to see these different major military vessels heading over this way. That being said, I really hope that these vessels are here to help Israel in targeting Iran if that's necessary, if Iran launches a strike, or perhaps Israel will preempt a strike. I hope they're not here to send the wrong message to Israel, and that is, well, since we've done so much, I'm talking about the Biden administration, therefore Israel should not either retaliate or take the initiative of launching a strike if that is necessary. We've been waiting now for several weeks. Iran continues. As of Sunday night, the Iranian foreign minister said that Iran would in fact respond militarily when the time they saw fit was. So we're anticipating it could happen at any minute. I really hope that the Biden administration is fully on board on this, as they were in April. Let's give credit where credit is due in terms of shooting down over 300 rockets, missiles, and drones, which were launched at the state of Israel by Iran. So it has happened before. It can happen again. And let's hope that the administration is doing the right thing by bringing these ships to this region in order to help Israel defend itself if necessary.
It's been
what's very important. I've been doing these videos about Taiwan and China. Taiwan's naval fleet is growing. Our naval fleet we're trying to build ships, but we can't build them fast enough because one, we don't have enough shipyards. Two, there's not a desire by Congress to actually improve the fleet adequately. And we have these systems for these boats that are so technological and so expensive that I'm not sure if they're as robust for a long naval battle with China. Now, there may be AI and drone technology underwater and above that may mitigate this power imbalance between the number of ships between China and the United States. That's left to be seen. There are some technologies that are being developed to perhaps be in the U.S. favor for the naval fleet. But, if you just look at just ships, the number of ships, we are falling behind in naval projection of power in the Asian theater. The problem is that because of the things that are happening in the Middle East, the fleet, the carrier strike groups are spread thin. They have to move into place for a potential outbreak in the Middle East. Now, there's a benefit to that, and there's a drawback. One, you have less strike groups in the Asian theater, just in case that China decides to attack Taiwan. But by having carrier strike groups in the Middle East, you can cut off the oil supply that Iran is providing China. So there's kind of, on one hand, it's a benefit, on the other hand, it's not. The problem in here is that what's happening in the Middle East may affect what's happening in Asia. And I've been saying this for a long time here. All right. So unfortunately, and honestly, I think Live Now does a pretty good job in trying to cover what's going on in the world in general. But again, there are these nodal points that are connected, and there's contagions that might happen that lead to further global conflict. That's really important to pay attention to. All right. It's not just what's going on in the Middle East or what's going on in Asia or what's going on in Ukraine. They're all connected. They're all connected. It's an ecosystem that's all connected. please go to my store, the-studio-reykjavik.com, and get the new product that I have, ubiquinol. Ubiquinol is the active form of CoQ10. You need ubiquinol. It improves your energy. It's an antioxidant, and it helps to improve neural health. So please take ubiquinol every day. I've been taking ubiquinol every day for a long time, but now I've been able to provide it on my store for you to add to the stack so you can follow what I'm doing. All right. Alex Jones doesn't tell you how to stack this stuff. Alex Jones doesn't have the high quality products that I have. Alex Jones doesn't understand how this stuff works. Dr. Paul Cottrell does. Help support Dr. Paul Cottrell and not Alex Jones. Dr. Paul Cottrell is older than Alex Jones. Alex Jones looks 15 years older than Dr. Paul Cottrell. He doesn't even take the products that he sells. I tell you exactly what I am doing. Now, I can't provide every, vitamin and supplement that I take on my store yet, but I'm building it up so you can follow everything I do. I've been taking CoQ10 and ubiquinol for a long time, all right, years. It's really important. So go to my store and get this new product that I have, ubiquinol. It's the active form for CoQ10. It's an antioxidant. It's gonna improve your energy levels, and it's a neural protector. All right, it has some other functions too that help. And we'll go into detail in another video about it. But the thing is that please go to the store and get the new products that I have. This particular one is ubiquinol. You need to take it, and it's synergistic. Remember when I was saying that it's about improving mitochondrial health and antioxidants, right? It's synergistic with C60 and resveratrol. When you take these things together, you're attacking the biochemistry in different ways, and it's improving it. That's how your body works, actually. So go to my store and get the resveratrol. It helps to get rid of senescent cells. Those are cells that build up toxins. They stop dividing because the telomeres are too short. But those cells won't go into apoptosis. And when you get older, you have more and more senescent cells. Well, you need to get rid of them. This helps to get rid of them. In addition, it's an antioxidant. It helps to support mitochondrial health. And it's synergistic with C60 and ubiquinol, the active form of CoQ10. All right? It's even synergistic with clarity factor. How? Because clarity factor is keeping those dendritic connections and getting that firing. Well, if you're improving the mitochondrial health with the ubiquinol and the C60 and the resveratrol, it's further doing neural protection and improving those neural connections. It's about stacking. Please go to my store and get the ubiquinol, which is the active. Please go to my store and get the ubiquinol. It's the active form of CoQ10. I've been taking this for years, and I've been now able to get it on my store and provide it to you at a relatively inexpensive price.
Since that assassination of Ismail Haniyeh, the leader of Hamas, which Israel has not taken responsibility for in any way, but Iran did come out immediately and say that they would launch a major attack in retaliation against Israel. As more time passes, does it become less likely that an attack will happen, or is it still kind of imminent?
I think at this point it's imminent. You never know when it's going to happen, but it's always really in the back of your minds. The Iranians are playing psychological warfare with the state of Israel right now. Different threats and different rumors have come about over the last 2 weeks. So it's going to happen tonight. It's going to happen tomorrow. All since different rumors on social media or whatnot. So we have to really, I always say, you have to listen to what your enemies are saying. In Iran, as I mentioned, the foreign minister did say they will attack. The question is when. So I don't think that the threat diminishes in any way as time goes by. The threat is still there. Iran has a ballistic missiles program, and of course, the ultimate threat is their nuclear program, which they're continuing to develop at a rapid pace. That is the biggest existential threat to the state of Israel, and not only to Israel, but to the Western world. They call Israel the little Satan. They call the United States the big Satan. It's very, very important to remember, this is not just about Israel. It's not just about the Middle East. It is about the safety of humanity. It's about the safety of the United States and the Western world. It's something we have to keep in mind.
I want to talk a little bit about a conversation that President Biden did have with Netanyahu once again yesterday. The White House did send out basically a report kind of summarizing the call. I know you looked over that report. Anything that stood out to you, or is it essentially just kind of more of the same of what we've seen over the past several months, those calls between Biden and Netanyahu?
So the report itself, what I saw released by the White House, is more of the same in terms of the United States saying it is committed to defending the state of Israel. But behind the scenes, I've talked to other people who are in the know and whatnot, that they say actually that the Biden administration is trying to put more pressure on the Netanyahu administration in terms of specifics in Gaza. They want to get a deal done, a hostage deal, in exchange for terrorists who carried out the horrible October 7th massacre. But the Israeli government and Netanyahu have been absolutely clear. Israel must maintain a presence in southern Gaza. I'm talking about the Gaza-Egypt border, the Philadelphia corridor, as it's known. We're talking about an 8-9 mile wide area there, which is safeguarding, preventing more of the weapon smuggling coming from Egypt to Gaza, which we've seen. Israel last week destroyed 50 tunnels. I think a total of 150 tunnels coming from Egypt into Gaza. We can't have that continue. And also, there's another corridor called the Netzarim corridor, which is in central Gaza. The Prime Minister Netanyahu, he has made it clear that we cannot allow weapons from southern Gaza move up into northern Gaza, perhaps originating in Egypt, but that cannot happen. So right now, the Netanyahu government is saying, yes, of course, we want a ceasefire. We want the hostages to be returned to us. But that being said, we cannot take these measures. We cannot evacuate from these areas, which will lead to a serious threat, security threat to the state of Israel. That can't happen.
As an American, right, it is unacceptable for Blinken and Biden's administration to fail getting the American hostages home. Some experts are saying that most of these hostages that are still, quote, in captivity by Hamas are probably dead. And there needs to be retribution for that. And this kicking the can down the road or not being forceful with Iran, because they are the ones that are funding this with Hezbollah and Hamas, is a disservice to any American citizen that was captured. In addition, we need to start really paying attention to what happened during the Beirut bombing in the 80s, what happened to the USS Cole. Iran needs, the theocracy of Iran needs to be obliterated.
We have to maintain an Israeli presence in those areas.
Is it even possible for a deal to be reached as the talks do continue over in Cairo? We know that Hamas has said it rejects the deal that was put forward. According to Secretary of State Antony Blinken, Israel, for the most part, has said we're okay with the basically deal that is put before us. So is it even possible for a deal to be reached between Israel and Hamas as they do meet again over in Cairo?
I think it'll be very difficult because, number one, as you mentioned, Hamas rejected every deal until now, and Hamas continues to change the terms of the deal as we carry on. So they're certainly playing games here. And, you know, with Hamas doing what they're doing, and let's remember, they are a terrorist organization. Just last Sunday in Tel Aviv, Hamas took responsibility for a failed suicide bombing attempt in the midst of negotiations. So this shows you exactly who they are, where they are, what they're about. They cannot be trusted as far as you can throw them. So Hamas, you know, negotiating with them, will it lead to anything meaningful? I think it's very unlikely. I think all parties have optimism, but yet in the back of their minds, they know who we're dealing with here. They know we're dealing with a barbaric terrorist organization who carried out the October 7th massacre, who tried another suicide bombing for the first time in a while in Tel Aviv this past Sunday. So we can't count on them in any way, shape, or form. And yeah, of course, we want the hostages back, but it looks like Israel's going to have to do it militarily. And I do not have high hopes for these negotiations.
My last question here before I let you go. We have been covering extensively the Democratic National Convention over in Chicago, and pretty much on a daily basis here, we have seen some very intense protests that are Gaza war protests. But I do want to ask, is that concerning to Israel to see this many protesters here who are outside of the DNC protesting against Israel and just kind of making their voices heard? Is that concerning about the U.S.-Israel relationship when Israel takes a look at that?
I don't think it's too concerning. This is a fringe element. We know that the vast majority of the American people side with the state of Israel. That is absolutely certain. There's no doubt in my mind about that. And if you look at these protesters outside the DNC, if you saw what they were doing yesterday, they weren't just burning the Israeli flag, they were burning the American flag. Okay, so they are on the...
Nothing pisses me off more than people in the United States that have freedoms and a stable economy and the ability to pursue their happiness. And of course, there's problems in the United States. No country's perfect, but nothing pisses me off more than when someone disrespects the American flag. That is unacceptable. Absolutely fucking unacceptable.
Of society in your country, in the United States, and we have to take it with a grain of salt in terms of the overall picture. We saw all the encampments and riots taking place on college campuses, a lot of them funded by outsiders, and even reports that Iran was directly funding some of those protests. I wouldn't be surprised if Iran or another one of these extremist elements were funding those.
You have sovereignty funds funding some of these schools and protests. You have George Soros and his open society BS funding these protests. You have Iran. You have elements of the CCP. We've been infiltrated at so many different levels. And then on top of it, and most of these people that are doing this are probably American citizens. Some probably are not, but most of them are. It is so disrespectful. I mean, I was raised to respect the flag, all right? That's because of my father's service in the Army and, you know, my uncles and grandfather that, you know, served in Korea and in World War II. You don't disrespect the American flag. You don't let it touch the ground. You don't burn it. You show reverence to it. This is why I say it's about God, country, and family. And the Democratic Party is against God, country, and family. How can they be for family if the Democratic Party has vans out there for, drive-through abortions and vasectomies? All right? Promoting abortions and vasectomies. How's that pro-family? It's not. When you're demonizing people of religious faith, that's not pro-God. And when you're talking about, having individuals out of the convention center burning the American flag, that's not patriotic. That's disrespecting the American flag and what it stands for, of us moving towards a more perfect union. You don't disrespect the American flag because you're disrespecting every American soldier and their sacrifice. That's unacceptable. But the Democratic Party will allow it. They'll put a, quote, veteran on their platform as a VP, and he served, quote, honorably, supposedly, for 24 years. But there's something odd about him not deploying with his company. Now, he was of age where he was aging out. I mean, you know, being in the service for 24 years, 25 years is, you know, that's a long time. And then get deployed, you know, so there's something odd there about it. And maybe J.D. Vance is right. Maybe it needs to be looked into. But I wouldn't say that Waltz disrespected the American flag. I think he honors the American flag because of his service to country for 24 years. I'm against his policies. I'm not for the Democratic Party. I'm voting for Trump. But you don't see people that are tied to the Republican Party going out and burning the American flag. That's totally unacceptable. Totally. It doesn't matter what your opinion is with the Israeli conflict in this regards. For Israel or against Israel. When you have citizens burning the American flag, that is a problem. That is a major problem. And patriots need to step up and stop that activity from happening and protect that flag. Now, if there are non-American citizens burning the flag, they should be kicked out of this country. Because why are they in this country when they're disrespecting the American flag? Now, some people would say, well, it's a freedom of expression and blah, blah, blah. There's a code of conduct for the American flag. And you know what? You need to respect it. Because you're dishonoring, you're disrespecting all the people that served our country. And all the people that will be serving our country. It's not perfect. It's not a perfect place. But there is no reason to disrespect Old Glory. All right? You can tell a lot about someone on this particular issue. And the way I was raised, you don't do that. You know, a lot of people, you know, they've lost God, country, and family. It's sad. That's all we need to make this country better is those three components. The Democratic Party is trying to put a wedge in that. And the key is to pull apart family. It's sad. It's sad. I get so irritated by it. I get so irritated it affects my gut biome. Please go to my store, the-studio-reykjavik.com, and get my probiotic. It's a powder. You mix it with your food or with water. It's a great probiotic. I take it every day. I also have a form that's in VeggieCap for the ones that don't want to take the powder. So please go to my store and get the probiotics. Why is that important? A good gut biome is going to allow you to have better metabolism, better energy absorption, better communication between your gut and your liver health will improve, and your mental health will improve. Depression is correlated to gut health. In addition, poor gut health causes inflammation. By having inflammation, your barrier, your mucosal lining barrier is poor, and diseases can start. Chronic inflammation of the gut can lead to cancers. Chronic inflammation of the gut can lead to pathogens getting into your lymphatic system or in your bloodstream. And it causes leaky gut and allergies and all these other problems with leaky gut syndrome. So that's why you need a good gut biome. So please go to my store and get the probiotics that I have. I have it in a powdered form and I also have it in a veggie cap form. Please go to my store, the-studio-reykjavik.com, so you don't have an inflamed gut. And by the way, if you see someone burning the American flag, push back, because guess what? That's what an American does. You don't let that flag touch the ground, and you don't let someone burn it.
Protesters outside the DNC, but these are people who in the streets of downtown Chicago were burning the American flag. It's not just about Israel. They're burning the American flag, and that just says a lot about who they really are.
It really does. All right, Josh Haston, thank you so much for taking the time to join us here and kind of break down the latest developments there out of the Middle East. Anything else you want to add about any of this before I let you go?
Yeah, I'm just going to say, in terms of the Iranian threat right now, again, it's in the back of everyone's mind. But that being said, if you're not on the war front down in southern Israel, and by the way, Israel's having a lot of success right now. I just heard that we destroyed the Rafah battalion of Hamas. Defense Minister Gallant reported that late last night. So that is happening there. And if you're not on the front lines in the north, again, very, very difficult situation. But if you come to Israel now, you will see a lot of people out. This summer, people are walking the streets of Tel Aviv, walking the streets of Jerusalem and all the other cities. And that is thanks to the brave men and women of the IDF who are keeping us safe 24/7. So I have to give a respect where it is absolutely due to those who are protecting us and are allowing us, despite all the horrible things that have happened over the last 9 months. They're allowing us to try to keep our lives as normal as possible, even with the Iranian threat and all the other threats that we have. This is a war on 7 fronts. It's not just 1, 2, or 3. 7 fronts trying to attack and eliminate the one and only Jewish state, and we will not let that happen, thanks to the brave men and women in uniform.
All right, Josh, thank you again for being.
And this dovetails into what's going on in China. And I want to play something from Fox Business.
Do you know what's really fun? Like your website only.
Hey, what how ridiculous. Story
Before we do
childhood
that,
friend.
Before we do
What
that,
Mac Democrat?
please go to my store and get the omega-3. This will help to improve your lipid profile. It'll bring down LDL levels. It'll increase your HDL levels. This is synergistic with some other products that I offer, like nattokinase and other things. But omega-3 is also important in preventing your red blood cells from sticking too much. In the post-crisis of 2020, people have clotting issues. So it's really important to control your cardiovascular health. I have lots of products to do that. If you've been following what I've been saying, you can improve your cardiovascular health, and you can, improve that lipid profile and reduce sticking and break up clots with digestive enzyme complex and the nattokinase, and omega-3 is synergistic with that. So please go to my store, control your lipid profile, bring down your LDL levels, increase your HDL levels. It's really important. Go to the store, the-studio-reykjavik.com.
Presidential nominee Tim Walz made quite the impression as a teacher in China, according to a new NPR report. Former students speaking to the outlet calling Walz lively and cheerful during his time teaching English and U.S. history at a Chinese middle school. And during a 1991 lesson on Chinese communism, Walz reportedly said the ideology means that everyone is the same and everyone shares. NPR writing this: Walz became part of one of the first government-sanctioned groups of American educators to arrive after the country opened its doors to the world in the 1980s. The 89 to 90 school year started shortly after the Chinese army crushed pro-democracy protesters centered on Beijing's Tiananmen Square in June of 1989, you remember. Walz has made roughly 30 trips to China since then, and even got married on the anniversary of the Tiananmen Square massacre. The Republican-led House Oversight Committee is investigating Walz for his longstanding connections to China. Joining now is Gatestone Institute Senior Fellow, author of The Coming Collapse of China, and China is Going to War, Gordon Chang. Gordon, great to see you. Thank you so much for being here. What is your assessment of Tim Walz's relationship with China and its communism leadership?
Well, first of all, we got to be very concerned about his company that he set up in 1995, Educational Travel Adventures. This was an adventure that had to be approved by the Communist Party's United Front Work Department. That's the part of the party that subverts foreign governments. So basically, this was a whole series of events that the Communist Party just loved. And during that time, Waltz has been quoted as some very pro-Maoist things. And, people changed their views. But just a couple weeks ago, he talked about socialism being the same as a good neighbor. Right. So clearly, those views that he had in his formative years are ones he still holds today, which means...
Please watch my recent interview and discussion with Taiwan, Miss Taiwan. She played it. She's saying the whole platform, the Harris platform, it's all about China. China's pulling the strings. She's a communist. Walt seems like a communist. They're trying to destroy this country, destroy economics by pushing social agendas, not in the middle, like middle ground. It's communistic. Now, what's shocking is how he spent so much time in the service, and he has this mentality, because most people that spend time in the service, especially that long, are Republican. We are being sold down the river. We need to wake up. And this is why it's so important that we win in the Pacific Theater. We cannot let China win. Why? Because developed nations in the West will try to copy their political and economic model. That means the destruction of American democracy, and it's the destruction of American capitalism. If you think I am, talking to hyperbole, guess what? UK and elements in the United States between World War I and World War II wanted to push a move into a communist path. And thank God that didn't happen.
He shouldn't be one heartbeat away from the Oval Office.
I'm wondering if this piece about U.S. firms warning against unprecedented Hong Kong cyber rules is evidence that Hong Kong can no longer be differentiated from communist China. I mean, American companies this morning are warning that proposed cyber regulation could grant its government unprecedented access to their computers, a threat to tech giants operating in the region, Gordon. As you know, you've talked about this so much. The legislation in Hong Kong would allow authorities to connect equipment to private firms' computer systems and install programs on them. Hong Kong officials claim the legislation is aimed at protecting against cyber attacks, but critics say government surveillance powers would become overly broad and harm tech investments in Hong Kong. I mean, Wall Street has to admit at this point that they've been struggling to maintain this fiction that Hong Kong remains independent after the CCP went in there and took over.
And not only that,
it certainly is not.
Wall Street has been paying for the buildup of the military of the CCP, of the PLA. China's military was bought and paid for by Wall Street because there were stupid people putting money in investment funds for that increase in yield in China. And this was happening during the Obama administration. Why? Because the fucking hot money that the Federal Reserve created right after Lehman, and that whole TARP program and that whole quantitative easing, 1, 2, 3, 4 by Bernanke, was all under Obama. So that hot money went to Wall Street, and that money went to China. Barack Obama built up the military in China. That's what fucking happened. And then now you have a bunch of fucking socialists that are burning the American flag in Chicago.
And especially after the national security law that was imposed in 2020. These cyber rules are basically the same as the rules that China put in place about 18 months, 2 years ago, which essentially gives the party total run of access of foreign computer systems, which means if you're a foreign company, you let them into your system in China,
you're letting them into your system worldwide, unless you do what some companies, which is to just air gap their China operations.
I don't know how you do that if you're a major bank. I mean, JP Morgan is there, Bank of America is there. Are they all being surveilled?
Yeah. If you're a major bank, you can't air gap your systems. That's just not the way financial systems operate these days. Only some companies can do that. And it's very, very hard because once the Chinese know about your general architecture in China, they can use that to penetrate your architecture elsewhere.
I mean, we've seen the CCP march into Hong Kong. Do you think that?
So they go in and attack the west side of Taiwan, and the Luzon Strait is protected by the northern part of the Philippines with U.S. bases, and those islands that are on the northern eastern front of Taiwan protected by American bases and Japanese. And all of a sudden, there's a cyber war that goes on with American infrastructure or American finance. Lovely, lovely. Thank you, Wall Street. Thank you, Wall Street, for actually allowing China to have more leverage on us. And Obama not building up the Navy, but truncating it at the same time that this is all happening. And Obama wants you to think, give hope a chance. Fuck.
I mean, could that happen in Taiwan? I mean, could it happen in America?
Yeah, I mean, you look at this right now, it's very exciting what Gordon is saying and been warning about this, and now you have a candidate whose views at best are muddied on what he believes about China. This is just a concern that Americans, I think, are not getting a full picture on because you never hear about this connection except places like this. And
yeah.
Look, China does the subversive very well. And I think that's the part that everybody missed. That we're being scared into the military side, which is a real threat as someone in the military, but it's the subversive side in these countries across the world and what Gordon was talking about that bothered me and I think more than anybody else.
So many stories are bothersome. I mean, federal prosecutors have arrested a Chinese dissident living in the United States for allegedly spying on pro-democracy groups and sending information back to China. Officials say that the 67-year-old man has been spying on the United States since 2018. Providing information to China upon its direction, even traveling at least 3 times to meet Chinese intelligence officers face to face. Authorities reportedly recovered instructions from China, guiding the man's spying activities. He's been charged with acting and conspiring to act as an unregistered agent of the People's Republic of China. Gordon, your reaction?
2 things here. First of all, China uses every point of contact to undermine the United States. That's Doug's point. I mean, regardless of it. Second point, you know, American presidents have known for a very long.
And some American presidents let this happen, and Wall Street let this happen, so they can get a 10% return year over year. That's the big takeaway. When Lehman happened, and there was hot money created by the Federal Reserve, a lot of it went overseas. A lot of it went to China, and Americans were like, "Yeah, we're gonna, we're gonna get those returns." Where do you think what that money was doing? And all those products that we were buying from China? It was actually building World War III. This is why it's so important to bring back manufacturing, so we have a better footing to be able to support a war on top of supporting American jobs. But you have the Democratic Party that says that, oh, that's backwards, and that that's this America First policy from Trump is bad. If we don't do America first, we're going to end up America last. Please go to my store, the-studio-reykjavik.com, and get vitamin K2 MK7. It's the MK7 molecule. All right. What does this do? This helps with bones to help improve your bone health, help with your joint health, But it also, if you've been following my protocols, it will also help with cardiovascular health. All right. It's synergistic with D3, with C60, with ashwagandha, with turmeric, with omega-3, with nattokinase. Why? Because when you take them in a stack, you're going to actually improve your vascular system and reduce plaque and reduce the chances of developing new plaque. So it's reducing the chances of developing new plaque and reducing the plaque that you have, diminishing it. All right, that's important. Now, how does it work? K2 helps to also absorb calcium, but it works with D3 and C60 and nattokinase, omega-3, ashwagandha, and turmeric. The turmeric and ashwagandha control the inflammation so the intima doesn't get perturbed, so you don't have foam cells developing, right? And having LDL, getting in and developing a plaque. In addition, the nattokinase will help to bring down the LDL levels and increase your HDL levels. If there is a little bit of a clot that's starting to form, it'll dissolve the clot. The omega-3 also brings down the LDL levels and brings up your HDL levels, reduces the red blood cells from sticking. And the C60 is a strong antioxidant, so it's reducing the chances of oxidized LDL. These all work together to reduce the plaque and reduce the chances of getting new plaques. So go to my store and get the vitamin K2. This is the MK7 version, right? This is very important for your bone health and for your cardiovascular health, if you've been following what I've been saying for the protocol. So please go to my store, the-studio-reykjavik.com. And like I said, it's synergistic with D3. D3 helps to absorb calcium. It improves the absorption of calcium when you take K2. Synergistic stack. It's a gene expression cofactor. Helps with expressing genes for proper cellular function. In addition, if your cells need to go through apoptosis, D3 helps them to go through apoptosis. And so your body can get rid of those cells, especially if they're infected. So if you have something that infects the cell that shuts down your innate immune system, preventing it from going into apoptosis, guess what? Take D3 and it'll help to go into apoptosis to mitigate that problem, which is something I was saying about 2,000 or 3,000 times throughout the crisis in 2020.
That Ministry of State Security agents have operated on our soil. And also, we've allowed Chinese consular officials to do the same thing. And we don't do anything about it. So, of course, the Chinese say, look, we're going to violate your sovereignty because you can't defend yourself or you won't defend yourself.
And then there's the nuclear front. President Biden reportedly approved a secret nuclear strategy which refocuses on the Chinese threat. Saying this, the White House never announced that Mr. Biden had approved the revised strategy, called the Nuclear Employment Guidance. The document, updated every 4 years or so, is so highly classified that there are no electronic copies for it. Only a small number of hard copies distributed to a few national security officials. China responded to the report, saying it is, quote, seriously concerned and accusing the United States of, quote, peddling the China nuclear threat narrative. China possesses roughly 500 operational nuclear warheads as of May 2023, and will likely have more than 1,000 nuclear warheads by 2030, according to the Defense Department, Gordon.
Yeah, and China probably will have...
If we start to have nuclear war, it's going to get really hot. You're going to need a good deodorant. So please go to my store, the-studio-reykjavik.com, and get the citrus or the peppermint, lavender, and tea tree deodorant. It's for males and females. It's made from essential oils from the Himalayas. It's all natural. It has no aluminum, no baking soda in it, and it helps to detoxify your body. So it's a dual purpose product. Go to the store, get a couple bars of this, Get the citrus or peppermint, lavender, and tea tree deodorants for your household. It's a very high quality product, and you're going to be very happy on the performance of it. In addition, Rainbow Herbals and I developed the Even Better Bar. All right, we partnered up and we developed this bar. It's an all-purpose skin care bar. You can apply it on your skin every day. You'll notice that your skin is smoother, softer, and it has a little bit of a glow to it. It will eliminate itching from a bug bite like a mosquito bite. It will help to heal wounds, cuts, abrasions, minor burns. It'll heal it quicker. You can apply it on psoriasis and eczema and mitigate that issue. You can put it on acne and help to heal the acne. You can put it on a muscle ache, and it'll either eliminate the muscle ache or radically diminish it in about 60 seconds to 120 seconds. If you have a bug bite and it's itching, it'll eliminate the itching in about 30 seconds or 60 seconds. It's a very high quality product. So please go to the store and get this. It's an all utility type, skincare bar. So please go to the store and get the Even Better Bar. It's very high quality, made from essential oils from the Himalayas. I have C60, very strong antioxidant that is synergistic with the stacking, like I've been saying, for many different reasons. C60 is an extremely strong antioxidant. It's in an oil. You can get it in extra virgin olive oil, coconut oil, an MCT coconut oil, or the avocado oil. All right. Why is it in an oil? C60 is a molecule that's 60 carbons that helps to absorb, neutralize these free radicals that cause damage to your cell. So they're neutralizing the free radicals. It's a very strong antioxidant, but you need to dissolve it in a lipid, in an oil. So this is why it's in different types of oils. Now, some people prefer the taste of different ones or whatever. All right. But the thing is that I have it in extra virgin olive oil, avocado oil, or MCT coconut oil. All right. Go to the store and get the C60. I have it in a 2 ounce, a 4 ounce, and an 8 ounce configuration. The higher ounce configuration, the price per ounce goes down. So you get a discount if you buy it in the higher ounces. So please go to the store and get the C60. It will soak up those free radicals. And when you're soaking up those free radicals, your cells have less stress. They can heal. In addition, it also helps to boost up the mitochondrial health. And so you have more ATP, so you have more energy. And so the cell works better. Your endocrine system works better. Your tissues work better. Your organs work better. Your neurons fire better. You have better memory. It's synergistic. You should take this every day. Take a teaspoon of it every day. When you take a teaspoon of it every day, you'll start to notice in a very short amount of time that your body is healing and your body is functioning better. Because you're getting rid of all this endocrine disruption crap because of our environment. And you'll notice that you're aging slower. It's synergistic with a lot of other stuff, like the ubiquinol and the resveratrol and the clarity factor and the NAD+. So please go to my store, the-studio-reykjavik.com, and get the C60. It's a very strong antioxidant. Take a teaspoon of it a day, and it'll soak up those free radicals. If you take it on an empty stomach, you get better absorption of C60. And if you work out, take it before you work out, and it will improve your recovery time. So please go to my store and get the C60.
Something like, some people say about 7,000 by about the middle of next decade. We just don't know. But the point is, this is one of the fastest nuclear buildups that we have seen. Also, China is threatening to use this. They always say, look, if you come to the defense of Taiwan, we're going to nuke you first. So what we are doing is reacting. This nuclear employment guidance is stunning because remember, you go back to 2022, Biden's nuclear security posture review. This was basically a review where he was going to ditch decades-long American policy on protecting our allies. He didn't do it, but only after ferocious lobbying by France, Germany, Australia. For Biden to actually say we might increase our deployed nukes, that is stunning change of opinion.
Wow. All right. We'll leave it there. Gordon, it's great to have you this morning. Thank you so much.
Lovely. As the world turns, please help support my work by going to my store, the-studio-reykjavik.com, and get the nattokinase. This helps to break up clots because it's fibrinolytic. It'll also help to bring down LDL levels and increase your HDL levels. So it's really important for cardiovascular health. You should be taking this every day. If you take it in higher doses, you're going to bring down your cholesterol. Hint, hint, you don't need statins. NAD+. This helps with energy, also with mental health and brain function. It's important to take every day. It's synergistic with resveratrol and niacin. All right. So take this every day. I've been taking this every day. I've been taking this every day for a while. And it's also synergistic with NMN, right? Now, NMN, I don't provide on my store, but the thing is that, niacin, NMN, NAD+, they're all attacking in different ways to help to improve your energy levels and to help, in this case, to help with brain function. So please go to the store and get the NAD+. You'll have more energy, right? Boost that up. Your body needs energy to heal. Your body needs energy to be moving around. When people get older, their energy levels go down. Why? Because their mitochondrial health goes down, their cellular health goes down. And then all of a sudden they start to atrophy. They start to gain weight. They start having problems with insulin resistance and all this stuff. All right. It's about energy, 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 energy. You'll look at a puppy, a young dog, it has lots of energy. You look at a kid, it has lots of energy. It's correlated. When you look at someone that's old, they don't have so much energy. Get energy. Get the NAD+. And NAC is very important. It's an antioxidant. It also helps to detoxify the body. So you should be taking NAC. It's really important to get those glutathione levels up. It's another way to attack. This is synergistic with the C60 that I was saying, because this is a strong antioxidant, right? Soaking up those free radicals. This is an antioxidant too that's increasing your glutathione levels, which also is an antioxidant. They work together in different ways. This is the whole point about stacking. This is the whole point about different vector points to improve your health. Get the NEC. It's very important to add to your daily protocol. I know that I try to inform you, and I have lots of products, and there's lots of ways to stack this to improve your health. And some people complain that I spend so much time trying to, promote these products. The problem is that there's lots of people out there that don't understand on how to stack this stuff. And that is the magic way. That's the experience and the wisdom coming from the longevity and the anti-aging subculture. And you can apply it and improve your health and not go down the road of big pharma. It is in your ability to mitigate many of these lifestyle type diseases, diabetes and heart disease. Now, of course, there's some predisposition genetically, and it's not a magic bullet. But the thing is there's lots to be learned from the longevity and the anti-aging crowd. And I'm trying to explain this to you on top of what's going on in the world. Because Stuff like this is going to help improve your health. Me going over stuff like this is getting you informed on how the world is getting out of control and that how you can be prepared. Now, that's the reason why I push so hard on this. And I was raised in such a way that you don't back down. So please go to my store, the-studio-reykjavik.com, and get the fucking products that will boost up your immune system. Thank you for listening, and have a nice day.